Emigrated is an Irish phrase that might not mean much to Fontaines DC's international listeners. It translates to "in our hearts forever" and is often used on gravestones. However, in 2021, this phrase took on a new meaning and became a symbol against discrimination and prejudice towards Irish people. And this is the fascinating story behind it. This extraordinary story starts with an ordinary woman named Margaret Keane. Originally from County Meath in the Irish Midlands, she moved to Coventry in England in search of a new life. Like many Irish people abroad, she gravitated towards the Irish community in her local area and was a much-loved member of their local GAA, or Gaelic Games, community centre. Sadly, she passed away in 2018 at the age of 73 and was buried at grounds owned by St Giles Church, Exhall, which is a village just outside of Coventry. In 2020, her family decided that it would be a very fitting tribute to have the phrase "Emigrated" written across her gravestone. But the strangest thing was, the cemetery had an issue with this inscription and wanted an English translation behind it. Stephen Eyre, who is Chancellor of the Consistory Court in the Diocese of Coventry, said, "Given the passions and feelings connected with the use of Irish Gaelic, there is a sad risk that the phrase would be regarded as some form of slogan, or that its inclusion without translation would of itself be seen as a political statement. That is not appropriate, and it follows that the phrase "Emigrated" must be accompanied by a translation, which can be in a smaller font size." These comments highlighted how the Irish language is often perceived as political instead of an ordinary language spoken each and every day. During England's colonisation of Ireland, there were significant efforts by the English to suppress the use of the Irish language. So, during Ireland's movement towards independence, the military resistance movement often encouraged the use of the Irish language. During the Troubles, the Irish language also became associated with the Irish Republican Army, who were notorious for bombing areas of England. But by 2020, the idea that the Irish language still carried so much baggage seemed somewhat ridiculous. The Good Friday Agreement was signed in 1998 and ended the Troubles. Queen Elizabeth II made her first ever visit to Dublin in 2011, and the following year, Martin McGuinness, a former leader of the IRA who had now transitioned into political life, met with the Queen during her Diamond Jubilee. There was a sense that everyone had moved on. And of course, these issues had absolutely nothing to do with this woman and her family. In fact, there were very few people that supported the ruling, and one of the most inspiring aspects of this story was that opposition came from far and wide. The Church of England quickly distanced themselves from this ruling and released a statement saying, "This decision does not reflect any national Church of England policy. Consistory court judgments may, with permission, be appealed to the Provincial Court of the Archbishop, in this case, the Arches Court of Canterbury." The Irish language is an important part of the heritage of the Church of England. It was, after all, Irish-speaking monks in Lindisfarne and beyond who played a central role in establishing the church in what is now England. The Bishop of Coventry, Christopher Coxworth, said, "I am deeply saddened whenever people's identity is hurt or offended. The Diocese of Coventry will continue to work for reconciliation in our world. I am praying for this particular situation, especially for a distressed family, and I am ensuring they are made aware of their legal rights according to the procedures of the Consistory Court." Margaret's family decided to appeal this decision and were represented by the human rights barrister Caolan Gallagher, who is from Dublin and living in London. As you can imagine, she was very moved by the case. She published a blog on this issue and wrote, "What is the evidence base for assuming there to be such anti-Irish sentiment amongst those who walk in Coventry graveyards? And if there is such prejudice, why pander to it and deny a perfectly reasonable request from a grieving family?" She also pointed out that the Irish comedian Spike Milligan, who was buried in England, has words written in Irish on his gravestone, and pretty famous ones too. His epitaph reads, "Dúirt mé leabhar go raibh mé brúite," which, reflecting his dark humour, translates literally as, "I told you I was ill." This story also came to the attention of the Irish comedian Dara O'Brien, who has been living in London for decades and is a fluent Irish speaker. He tweeted, "The judgment is that an imaginary person, at some time in the future, might see 'You live on in our hearts' written in Irish, not understand it, but just presume it must be political, since it's Irish, and then what? Feel uncomfortable, unsettled, so the family don't get to give the tribute they want to their beloved mother because we apparently have to protect the feelings of some imaginary idiot in the future." Coventry, as many people might know, is a very diverse city and prides itself on having so many people from different backgrounds and ethnicities. And the very people of Coventry, who ran the supposed risk of being upset by the inscription, were actually upset with the decision. One of Margaret's children told RTE, "Everyone you speak to, even down to St Giles's Church, everyone is full of praise for Mum. She worked 26 years in the local school, so even people my age knew her, and they all say the same. This is wrong. Why can't your mum just have what she wants?" In February 2021, Margaret's family were in a day-long court proceedings in London where 3 judges examined whether their appeal was valid. They were quickly told that the court agreed to an Irish-only inscription, but said that a translation should be held in formal records at the church, to which the family agreed. So, in our Go Deo could now be inscribed on her headstone. Quillen Gallagher told the court, "Margaret was a lady who was modest and unassuming, and were she here today, she would probably be embarrassed at being the centre of attention." Irish heart, Coventry home is a phrase which in many ways encapsulates Margaret Keane. And although Margaret didn't like to be made the centre of attention, hopefully she would have made an exception for this inscription to be the title of the opening track of Fontaines DC's 2022 album, Skinty Fia. As we discussed in our previous video about the song I Love You, the band moved from Dublin to London during the pandemic and had a similar journey that Margaret made all of those years ago. According to lead singer Graham Chapman, that story came out really soon before I'd made the proper definitive move to London, so it made me feel real nervous about the move to London, to be honest. It really brought to the fore the idea of this kind of lack of acceptance. The idea that a language in and of itself is inherently political is quite deeply judgmental and wrong and backwards, because that language is the same language as used to say, "Enjoy your first day at school, son." There's more to uninspire people than conflict. Margaret's family were thrilled that this resonated with the band, and one of their children told the BBC, "When we heard it, the first thing we did, me and my sisters, was to stand at my mum's grave and play it to her and listen to it for the first time at that special place." When Graham Chapman heard about how her family liked the song, he said that this meant more than the Grammy nomination they received for the album. That means a lot more to me than any Grammy nomination. Just the fact that we were able to say something about something like that didn't disrespect or offend or in any way or commandeer what was essentially a family story. Guitarist Carlos O'Connell also paid tribute to the family and said what they wanted to do, they wanted to portray Irish people in a certain way, and that was so moving to us. It means so much to us, especially as Irish people over in England. To have your own inscription on your grave being denied because of a twisted view of the past, and for that to be happening still now, it's just devastating. Their fight was very important. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to support the channel.